Friends and family, thank you for joining me here at the American News Network with Chris Sanders. Major News Network on your Apple phones and your Google phones on the app. Now, we got Speaker Johnson back in today. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, I would have preferred Jim Jordan, Rand Paul, or even Chip Roy. Didn't get the lead out of your pants, did you? Well, as such, we have Putin immediately responding by setting into action the AvanGard missile system, ready to strike NATO, ready to strike the United States. This is a Mach 27 nuclear war weapon. He doubts that somehow we'll make it to President Trump. And all the stories we're getting, we've had basically 4 to 6 different type of staged terrorist attacks in the United States, and I believe the common denominator and culprit is our own shadow government, and we can prove it. Proving it by using our veterans, having them shot, and then put in self-driving vehicles. How pathetically staged could you get? And so, who are the culprits? Who would want to do this? Who on earth would want to do this, except for the people that are in charge today? So what you're seeing here is the AvanGard system. And I want you to know also major news. Heads up, Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. Harry S. Truman strike group is getting hit by the Houthis. We are under fire right now. My prayers are to the United States Navy. The Houthis are hitting us, and they're getting extra gear from Iran. Now that Speaker Johnson, who works for Iran, has been reestablished, I guarantee you that's the only green light that Benjamin Netanyahu needed. And I bet we'll see nuclear weapons unleashed on Iran because of the Speaker's confirmation. He has, if people ask me why I don't care for the guy, he is boring, he's a pushover, and he's for sale, and he has approved all of this war weaponry. Yeah, him. I'll remind you, we've got about $20 billion that have left. Recently, $2.5 billion that could have housed and homed 25% of our homeless veterans with a free house. But yet we'd rather just give that as a gift to our laundromat in the Ukraine. Oh, here's a news flash. 1,430 souls died today fighting Mother Russia. Also, all the NATO troops peeled out. 1,200 French elite troops bailed. It's called common sense. You're taking a knife to a gunfight, or your little missiles against big missiles and airplanes. There's nothing that we've won about this war, and there's nothing that we're winning except making ourselves out to be an evil mockery to the entire world. We claim that we're for the environment, but we blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. And speaking of pipelines, Putin shuts down his pipelines that are going under Kiev into Russia, into Europe. So this is how staged this whole entire war is, America. I mean, don't you see how easy Putin could have bombed his own pipelines, and now Slovakia and FICO, they're pissed. And so now Zelensky's got basically angry neighbors all around him, from Moldova to Slovakia, same with Poland. We have Poland, the Ukraine, and Germany being American puppets out there. And understand, it's not that America is bad, we're great, but we have been taken over. And so when people ask me about Johnson, well, he's working with the taken over government. And so he's approving all of these war crimes, him and Blinken. And they're discussing deals, and our government's still doing this nonsense where they operate until they're broke. They fund everybody but us. And if that's okay with you, well, you're an ostrich with your head in the sand. Wake up. I'm not giving this bill to my kid or our grandchildren. I'm tired of this, and I hope you are too. These are serious consequences that Putin is lining up, and it's not for Americans. It's for the 535 bought out corrupt politicians that are starting wars daily. You heard me. Hey, America, we're great. We love each other. We really don't care what faith you have, what race you are, what's your religion, what's your creed. We love everybody. I think that stems from Jesus, and then that's contagious. And when people come here, they wonder, where does that love come from? They find the common denominator. And through love, we conquer all. Now, if our government could only see that, but I see that they worship something much darker that most of us don't realize. And that's because the darkness does not perceive or comprehend what light is. I mean, that's nothing you could ask Aunt Nancy. So America is really dealing with it, and we need to think differently about war and technology. I'm going to use the German Leopard tank as an example here. And this was the worst day in history for the German Leopard tank, or any kind of superiority they thought that it would bring them. Russia sent out drones and destroyed every single one. So tanks are a thing of the past when you have a $2,000 to $5,000 drone that completely destroys the tank, don't you think? So Germany's involvement of help, America's involvement of help, all completely destroyed by the evolution of war. And I'm telling you, America, we need to start really highly producing drones ourselves, because we're finding that they are draining us through the Ukraine and every war situation. And we have the ability to make, the holy crud out of these with just our agricultural spin-off, and with the gunpowder that we're able to produce just out of the Permian Basin through our sulfur content. So we need to get the lead out of our butts, and we need to design these things, but this is what a simple drone does to tanks. It's a huge game changer. And that's an Army heads up, and we can't just basically hang out in these things. Now, Taiwan got saved by Jesus Christ and the Lord. Boy, I tell you what, 80 warships, all of their things about ready to go. They were just getting ready, frothing at the bit. And I was thinking, Lord, what's going to save Taiwan? Well, it's going to be Jesus. You think I'm kidding? No. What you're seeing behind me are two massive earthquakes that hit China and rattled them and shattered buildings. And it's not that they were massive earthquakes, but they're really crappy builders. And so a 5.4 and a 5.8 magnitude earthquake rambled through cities and major towns and devastated the whole entire production going through China. And I said to myself, you are amazing. Here Taiwan was looking at something, and you threw the curveball. So, I mean, don't fear these things. The Lord's always in control. Speaking of interesting things, but just remember, God just stopped China in their tracks, and China's doing wicked things. We need to stop all trade, not just trade, trade, because they can put diseases on our products. We cannot give them food. But I'm telling you, they have a new type of COVID going out, and we cannot let this come in here and start a pandemonium in the United States again. We need to understand that China is the world's enemy under Xi Jinping. We've let this guy steal all of our patents. We've let this guy steal his own country and go for a third term. You don't think that China doesn't have billions of people and at least maybe a million Xi Jinpings that could run the country better than that dictator? There are few dictators in the world that are ethical and that don't try to steal inventions, patents, and spread diseases worldwide. There are few. I can look at President Putin. I watched Russia come up out of the mire. He's been around for 24 years. He left, and then Russia needed him. But yet, if you hear the guy, now don't ask me why, but how come the Russian president quotes George Washington and Thomas Jefferson in our U.S. Constitution more than our own presidents do? Did you know that? So anyways, Putin is a very big believer in George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and Monroe and everybody else, and it's quite shocking, and it's been interesting. You know, I'm old enough to remember the Soviet Union, the USSR, communism, friends that defected that had to stand in line for hours for toilet paper and food. And now Russia is more advanced than the United States, and I see Russian millionaires all over the coast of Europe because of good leadership, because Putin has been a good president. Now, what you're seeing behind me is Xi Jinping, and with him we have China building war machinery for all of our allies in Asia, which is a threat to Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Taiwan. See, I would smash that dude in the dirt just for even simulating a war game with us. I'd smash him. And I'd say, you get no dough at all, and we're seizing all your assets in the United States. We're kicking you out of the Panama Canal. Two can play this game, buddy. And make them sit their butt down and cool off, because they're becoming a problem for the world. I don't see Chinese millionaires up and down the coast. I don't see Chinese freedoms. I don't see people that even have the freedom to have a religion or a faith over there. I know what smells like the Antichrist, like Zelensky and Xi Jinping, or even Benjamin Netanyahu when I smell it. It's usually followed by disease and death and famine. Wake up. Are you seeing anything good happen from the fruits of Zelensky, except the demolition and destruction of the Ukraine for the dollar? What about Israel? You're next. And it's not that I don't love Israel, it's Israel has been stolen by a demon, much like America has. So I'm going to go into Constitution 101. Because our founding fathers told us what to do. And what do you think we should do with judges like Judge Marchand that think that they can interfere with not only the election but the duly elected? Luckily, our Supreme Court stepped in and got involved. But that man deserves at least 5 to 10 years in prison to be stripped of everything he has. So does Alvin Bragg and Fannie Willis and Jack Smith. They all need to do 10 years, 5 mandatory. And you need to have justice for abuse of law and a weaponized DOJ. All of these people need to go to prison. And that's us being nice, because what they've committed is treason. I will be going over basically what is treason. But I saw a story that pissed me off. What pissed me off? Well, we had a silver alert for an Army veteran. Very highly decorated Army veteran that you see here behind me. And it's okay. I mean, he was a young white cop who then cuffed him and beat him unconscious. Now, I'm seeing a lot of these things going on. There's that other case where it was 7 cops that beat another black guy to death. And what's going to happen if our cops are only used to prosecute people and not illegal aliens? Because that's what we're seeing. We're seeing citizens that are getting detained. I mean, even Ice-T got detained in his Porsche. The cop was really being a jerk to him, and I'm not kidding you. And meanwhile, if you really study the video, you can see illegal aliens walking around, but you're going to threaten a movie star with the Porsche, an American black man, right? And this is going to evolve into something. I see it between even the American cop that is maybe Hispanic and the American ghetto. If you keep on going in these directions, I see cities like Atlanta and Los Angeles that are going to pop off. You just give Los Angeles a little earthquake action, and I mention that because there were several that happened in the Yellowstone volcano area today. Yeah, they beat this guy up. That pisses me off. This is a senior citizen clown. And if you don't think that the black community is not going to get your face and do what they do, understand this ain't George Floyd. This is a decorated veteran. And you know, it's to do that to a handicapped person, I'm just telling you, when you have a silver alert, couldn't get any better than that. Now the French. The only thing they did good was the French fry, and they didn't even do that. But they've got a kind of Michelle Obama, Big Mike, Barack type of couple over there, Macron. They send 1,700 troops of their elite to the Ukraine, and they run for their lives. Oh yeah, the woke. They can't do crap. They shook his hand, they took our money, and they sprinted to the border. That is an update from you to me. Oh, from me to you. Sorry about that. I'm hearing cats at my door. So we have Russia sending 111 drones today and more missiles, and they're bringing the Ukraine completely to their knees. This is just money laundering. And they're leaving us completely defenseless. This is the worst time we have. We've literally got 16 days. And we have, we have a Congress that is inept. He's introduced Benjamin Netanyahu as His Excellency. He violated the U.S. Constitution. But I'm going to talk about what we need to do right here with Kamala Harris Johnson and with everybody that's a fraud right now. It's Article 1, and we're going to go over 2.1, and it's in case of removal of the president office or his death, resignation, or inability to discharge the powers and duties of said office. America, would you agree with me that he does not have the ability to discharge his powers in office? I mean, even I'm going to let you hear his response just today. He's gone. He's an old Quaker oatmeal senior citizen that should be in an old folks home. This includes you, Nancy Pelosi, and everybody really over 65 needs to retire and enjoy your grandkids and get out of office. Just retire and enjoy your lives, but you're too old to serve this country. And it even gives you age requirements. It's telling you 35 has been, and 14 years a resident. But I'm going to go on here. In case of removal of the president from office or his death, resignation, or inability to discharge the powers and duties of said office, we all damn well know he's not in charge of the military or our actions, and that it's been purchased by Benjamin Netanyahu with his cohort, Speaker Johnson, and they've all been bribed by Benjamin Netanyahu. Even when I exposed Marco Rubio and his $1.2 million, $1.1 million bribe from the lobbyists from Israel, how on earth is lobbying not bribing? If you give me $1 for a favor, that's a bribe. That's put in here in black and white. Everybody that's taken a damn bribe, we need to fire, get you out of office. You have violated 2.4, which is bribery. And the biggest briber there is Israel and is the Ukraine, because it's here. I'll give you $4 if you give me 2 back. I got an account set up right for it. And, just study the Old Testament. It warns us about these evil practices that certain people have done since the beginning of time. I'm going to go on with how we protect ourselves. So it says, the inability to discharge the powers and duties of said office. The same shall devolve on the vice president. So we don't need to keep her butt. Get rid of her ass too. That's part of the same sentence. Get rid of the vice president and the president. Right here in the Constitution, wake up. I'm telling you how our Congress sucks. And I'm not kidding you. They're a den of thieves. That's all that they're doing right now. Just stealing stuff from everybody. Okay? That's all they're doing. Okay. Congress may by law provide for the case of removal, death, resignation, or inability, both of the president and vice president, declaring what officer then shall act as president, and such officer shall act accordingly until the disability be removed or a president shall be elected. Well, we've had a president that was elected. It was this jackwagon that stole it. You're saying he's too old to prosecute, get his lame-ass, old butt, warmongering thing, thieving, conniving, bribing personality out of there, please, on behalf of the saving of the United States of America. And please remove the disability, who's known as Jackwagon Joe, and heels up Kamala Harris. They both suck. And they're phony. Not a damn thing good has happened in 3.9 years. Move them out. All they did was what? Kill the Washington Redskins and Aunt Jemima? How woke can you go with, Bud Lighting it your way? How have the schools been for your children? Haven't you understood that they have divided us so that we fall? It's Marxism 101. Just ask Kamala's father. Now maybe you'll realize, since her husband is a Jew, wake up, black people out there. She ain't black at all. She's Indian, white, and Jewish. Period. Some people invest in wars. It says the president shall at stated times receive for his services and compensation, which shall neither be increased nor diminished during the period. That ain't important. Section 2.2, except for in cases of impeachment. Now, what do you get impeached for? Oh, well, that's Section 2.4, and it's bribery or treason. And treason is also what? Aiding, abetting the enemy. Everybody. Now, you can hear when they introduced him as His Excellency Sir Benjamin Netanyahu. No, that's the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. But when he said His Excellency, the Constitution forbids a title of nobility to be granted to any person like king, queen, or His Excellency. An investigation needs to be opened. This is why Speaker Johnson is disqualified to be the Speaker of the House, you idiots. Even all you in Congress are unified and backing who? His Excellency. You're all in cahoots with Israel in stealing our money instead of defending, protecting, and investing our monies in the United States of America. The only difference between Trump and I is that Trump is going to help out Israel, and he's going to bomb the crap out of Iran because he is a Jew. Ivanka's a Jew. Wake up. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but we should invest in America only, not just the banking systems and the people that control the banks in Wall Street, which is what is happening. So it isn't peace and equality. It's who owns the breadbasket. Trial of crimes, except in cases of impeachment. Section 3.3, treason. Now here's how it reads in the Constitution of the United States under Article 3, Section 3, United States of America. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them. Whoa. Levying war against us. Now when our cops are carrying M16s, and they have a war on drugs, which is a war on us, and they can prosecute us, but for some reason not illegal aliens, I question, are you having the ability to only levy a war against us and not illegal aliens? Constitutional question. Or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid or comfort. Okay, well, here is the total, just obvious treason committed. Not just the bribes they've all received, but when we left $85 billion to the Taliban, we aided and abetted the Taliban. General Miley, General Austin, Anthony Blinken, Joe Biden, every single one of you aided and abetted. You gave them beds, you gave them munitions, helicopters, vehicles, everything they needed. You committed treason. Your excuse, you couldn't move it to America? Okay, you could have shipped it all to Saudi Arabia or Iraq or Israel with the tank of gas. They all had the range to get there. You gave them the Taliban. a present, and they're using that to destroy Pakistan, Iran, and everybody that we could have had a relationship with. And as far as the people that don't know, and rest in peace, Carter. But see, it was Carter and our out-of-control CIA that made Iran the wrecking ball it is today. And it wasn't until the day that Reagan was elected that they crumbled, because the darkness doesn't comprehend what the light is. Now, treason against the United States shall consist only in loving war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. And no person shall be convicted of treason unless the testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act. I'm one witness. I've got at least 100,000 others watching me right now. Get the lead out of your ass, Congress. We have a disability named Jackwagon Joe and Heels Up Harris. You have a duty and an oath to serve the people of the United States of America and the Constitution for which it stands. Heels Up Harris doesn't even know the Pledge of Allegiance. No kidding. This is some news that made it today. In fact, you got to hear it, because how could somebody be in office that is just this unscrupulously stupid? It's beyond words. But that is who we've got, and I've just got to let you know. It's horrific. Now, in good news, we do have a weaponized media, and luckily we got a billionaire on our side, and now he's going after Whoopi Goldberg for $80 million. Good, because you hear this, oh, Musk thinks he's the president rumor. Well, that came from Whoopi Goldberg, and that's why he's suing her butt, and sue it hard. Yeah, if she wants to influence people of power, I think it's your duty to protect yourself, your credibility. I'm going to ask you, though, how safe is that Superdome going to be? I mean, if you're going to have the same professionals that you can laugh at in New Orleans for this last terrorist event, how safe is the 76,000 to 83,000 spectators going to be in the largest indoor dome in the world? You don't think there's going to be some aerosol activity? Because there already is. If you checked out by my post, there's this weird micro element that is being discharged throughout the state of Florida, and extra high levels of it are being found in the air. This causes respiratory illnesses and sicknesses, and I thought that you should be aware of that. But I'm going to let you know as far as certain things. I'll put it on some football, because I want our security for our final games to be very high in an indoor place, the largest indoor place in the world that competes with only one other in Mexico. And you got all this ISIS crap, and I don't believe it, and if it is, that's courtesy of Barack Hussein. But we got to protect these football games, baseball games, because we have obstacles, and we don't know if it's us. Shoot, I think they'll even shoot our soldiers and put them in cars and frame them for crimes that they didn't commit. Anyways, just a thought and a speculation. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, the Louisiana Superdome is the world's largest indoor stadium, covers 13 acres, has a seating capacity of 76,791 for football, and when the seats are cleared, 97,365 for conventions, 273 feet tall. Only thing that compares to that is the Aztec Stadium in Mexico. Now, this is an honest question. Are you going to feel safe with the old nose ring? Don't worry about it. We don't have terrorism happening in New Orleans. But what about the multiple bombs and the IUDs and the guy that drove through, killed 10 people and wounded 35? Oh, it's in the ISIS flag. You know what? Coincidence? We have this all under control. You have nothing to worry about. Just an ISIS flag, just improvised explosions, and 45 people whose lives never be the same. I don't want you to think about the Super Bowl coming up, because we are certainly not. In fact, we were not even prepared to lift up the hydraulics so that, people don't drive through on the one day that we got to protect our citizens. This is what DEI gets you. Didn't earn it. Ridiculous crap. So you have 17 more days of the wrong people in charge, America. People that shouldn't have their jobs at all, and it's obvious to an 8-year-old child. Yeah. I pray for the safety of all the games, and I pray that Americans will protect Americans from any kind of catastrophe. Have your head up. Protect the president of all times. Again, 1,430 people died today. 24 hours, 9 strikes from basically the war. Don't think that we're not at war right now. Okay? We're at war. It's coming home. Who's bringing it home? The shadow government. Last 24 hours, 9 strikes, 1,430. They are just getting everything ready for us. Kiev doesn't have more than 10 days, mark my words. 10 days, Kiev will fall completely. All of Europe is even imploding on the Ukraine because Russia has shut off the gas. Gazprom is showing them who runs the Europe. It's the natural gas industry. Why do you think it's so important that we drill, baby, drill? If anything should drive that home fact to you, this entire war and the Ukraine and Europe should be a wake-up call on how we would be if we did not have a natural gas infrastructure in the United States of America. What I'm letting you know is that Slovakia, Moldova, we have a lot, Hungary, Italy, we have a lot of people out there that are getting tired of Jackwagon Joe and Zelensky. And let me tell you something, people of Europe, you're not half as tired of that guy as we are in the United States. We're so sick of that guy stealing our money to the laundromat that's doing nothing but getting you murdered. It makes us sick and cry. Please accept our apologies of having an out-of-control government. Every single person in our cabinet needs to basically do time. I've got to go over this stuff besides the 40 major assets and all the troops that died. But understand, a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head, then you drive to the hotel and explode it? No, this is a staged incident trying to make it look like ISIS was the culprit. They knew he had problems even in his marriage. I'm telling you, we offed him and we used him as a decoy to say that there's a problem with Iran, just so that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to have the excuse he needs to blow something up nuclear. You mark my words and watch what he does to Iran in the next 10 days. You also watch what happens to Kiev in the next 10 days. Major stuff is going to happen before Trump gets into office, and Trump even said it himself today. He doesn't see how terrorism is not going to happen before he gets into office. Okay, so there's a particle that I've got to let you see, and this particle is amazing. Okay? Now, this particle, basically, it's all over the state of Florida right now, and the reason why it's a big red flag is all you guys are breathing this in. And it's either chemical, it's usually either from a volcano or chemical, but my point is it's going to hit you respiratory, all these sicknesses and illnesses, and it's coming from the air. And I think the drones are all tied into it. And that's just something that I'm trying to find right here, but it's that chemical that I have on the post. It's in the air. And it's called PM2.5. Okay? This chemical is called PM2.5. There's an urgent PSA fog health hazard. This isn't natural. We've had people pull stuff out of their air vents. A dangerous health hazard is looming over the parts of the state of Florida. The skies are shrouded in a mysterious fog that could put your health at risk. And this is a video that was put out there from Mind Seed. But there are microscopic particles that can pose a serious threat to your health. And the information is called a PM2.5 in the levels of fog. These are carcinogenic. They're going to cause respiratory issues. We don't know where they're coming from. I'm saying, well, geez, all these drones, what the world do you think they're putting in the air, folks? And again, they're drones. They're not UFOs. And this fog is not real everywhere. And this is just an urgent PSA on PM2.5. And you could look it up on as to where PM2.5 comes from. But understand it is I think it's part of the war that we're facing. I think we're going to have to worry about microwave rays, 5G rays, air particles, radiation. There is a new huge outbreak happening in China, usually, like even let's use Wuhan as an example. What they did is then they shut that state down, and they told everybody in Wuhan, you can travel everywhere in the world, but just not back in China. They are trying to spread diseases. This needs to be recognized and embraced from the world so that we can end Xi Jinping's administration, because he's going to invent something that's going to go crazy, and I don't think the world's going to like it. And if he doesn't let people have faith, how bad can you be? We all need faith. So that is what I'm getting at. Now, if you don't think that the nuclear threat is real, well, this is making news. I mean, immediately news. As soon as Jim Jordan was approved, we have Putin moving AvanGard ready to nuke NATO and the U.S. And we have Israel ready to nuke the Houthis and Iran. So that's why I didn't like him, because the U.S. will approve the budget through Johnson because he's so far up Netanyahu's ass, it makes me sick. I try to remind him, you could have housed and homed 107,000 homeless veterans with $10 billion. And they've already spent $20 billion just in the month of December. That's how much they don't care. That's a fact. Ask me what else I don't like. That we invested in war and killing children instead of loving thy neighbor. Netanyahu's in and out of the hospital with prostate problems. Again, it's not us that has to decide a man's fate, as his is coming from Christ as we speak. So there are people that are being taken out, just like I'm telling you, and in my opinion, Putin is going to teach Zelensky either how to fly or he's going to teach him about gravity. Everybody that screws with Putin learns about high buildings and windows. Haven't you figured that out yet? So expect that in the next 10 days, or AvanGard, or something Iskandar. But do you think that we should let these war criminals like Benjamin Netanyahu and Zelensky that launder out American money, do you think that we should actually let them live the rest of their lives with their families in Florida and in the United States of America? Some people say that we're housing war criminals and people that are basically just doing worldwide war events that are living in America and getting away with it, getting away with murder. Now I could ask you the similarities between Soros, Zelensky, and Netanyahu. But I think you already know that they all come from the same family. Point is, why are we letting them destroy America? They've already used double the funds just in the month of December that not only could have housed and fed all of our homeless veterans, 107,000. We could have given all of them a free home on 2 acres and paid their utilities for the rest of their lives. And for all the other ones that barely have a home, we could have paid their homes off. And before you think that's too outrageous and a country would never do that, that's what Putin does for his veterans in Russia. And I thought you should know that. So who has become the country run by tyrants today? In the 80s, we truly represented freedom with Reagan. Since 9/11, Bush and Obama and Clinton, this cabal has destroyed us, and Orange Man Good with orange zest appeal and watermelon nuggets is our only saving grace. I'm hearing the cats again and the possums. I pray for our safety. If you want to know that where Russia stands, I would like to remind you that every country that has gone to the aid of the Ukraine has been completely destroyed by Russian technology. And now with China and North Korea, they have a 6.5 million man army. And last I checked, China and Russia were the only fabricators of war equipment where they could actually use it and continue to kick butt. Be on the lookout of our skies. Please post videos. Right now, I believe China is infiltrating into the state of Louisiana. They're using cars. They're under the covered co-op of crypto. I don't believe it. I think they're shielding secondary power stations in case our stations go down from an EMP. I'm going to talk to Andre Soriano about making EMP and also radioactive produced sheets and beanies and headgear, because again, I think it's a war weapon that we're going to have to pay attention to from China. This old decrepit bag of oatmeal behind me is the disability that we have in office, and Congress truly needs to get the lead out of its butt, because every day you allow this to happen, literally thousands of people die every day. And if you doubt that, just remember today we had 1,430 Ukrainian men die because of our involvement in a laundromat called the Ukraine, being run by an out-of-term president and an old degenerate that can't even complete a sentence when he's reading a cue card. God bless you. Amen. Thanks for watching the American News Network. And understand that New Orleans and that Las Vegas fiasco was a setup job, and it smells just as sick as the Pentagon, their involvement with COVID, the release that was given today. You're going to see Clayton Morris on Redacted doing it with Sasha. Well, we got direct evidence that ties Big Pharma into the COVID hoax on February the 4th, 2020. And it is truly our government that is responsible, with Big Pharma and China, with people like Dr. Fauci, that have played with the lives and freedom of the world. And I want you to know that. Literally. We have had so many people pass away. It's just unimaginable. If you're a soldier out there in the Ukraine, do what everybody else is doing. And if you're listening, God bless you. Just try to live another day. You've got only about 17 more days of having a tyrannical government funded by our tyrannical government. Please just try to hide out and live or surrender so that you can live another day. The Bible says if you live by the sword, you shall die by the sword. So embrace love and don't embrace hate. And again, our government will probably not be involved in all the terror as soon as January the 20th comes around. And that's if we make it. God bless you. Post those videos. Keep us all informed worldwide, because this is from Africa to the Ukraine to Egypt. We've got worldwide listeners here. We're all parents. We're all brothers. We're all sisters. We're all trying to make it another day in love. God bless you and amen.